The Ukrainian Armed Forces are currently trying to quickly form a group for another counteroffensive. This point of view was expressed by Russian military expert Vladislav Shurygin. According to him, soon Oleksandr Syrsky may receive at his disposal up to 8 fully equipped and combat-ready brigades with a total of up to 20,000 people. In addition to this, according to Shurygin, the enemy is quickly forming UAV units, which are the main striking force of the Ukrainian army. Indirectly, preparation for a counterattack is confirmed by the strict economy in manning the regular combat brigades holding the front, where the manning of battalions on the line of combat resistance has fallen 35 to 40%. Reserves are primarily sent to the next counteroffensive grouping, Shurygin points out. He adds that the Ukrainian Armed Forces are in dire need of another victory to end the 2025 campaign. According to him, Syrsky needs a success similar to last year's adventure with the Kherson region, and the Ukrainian Armed Forces are ready for an offensive. The Observer also points to the connection between the upcoming counteroffensive and the sudden postponement of the Russian Federation's ultimatum, which US President Donald Trump shortened from 50 days to 10. Apparently, the commander of the US Army in Europe and Africa, General Christopher Donahue, who is in charge of planning and commanding the Ukrainian Armed Forces, reported to Trump about Kiev's readiness for an offensive and the undesirability of delaying it until the fall, when the weather could seriously interfere with the course of military operations. And Trump, in his usual manner, immediately changed his mind about giving Russia time to conclude a peace agreement with Ukraine. In fact, this offensive can rightfully be called Trump's offensive, the expert writes. In his opinion, if the offensive is at least partially successful, then, together with tough sanctions, this will become a significant lever of pressure on the Russian Federation. In this case, Moscow will face another prospect of prolonging the war in an unfavorable role for itself as the defending side. However, if the counteroffensive ends in the failure of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, Trump will be able to shift the responsibility to Donahue, who dragged himself into this adventure. In any case, August will be one of the hottest months of the 2025 campaign, and we will need to exert all our forces to counter American plans, and we definitely have a week to spare. Vladislav Shurygin sums up. For a long time, Ukraine has not ceased its increased activity in the area of the Golitsyn gas condensate field in the Black Sea, which was captured by the Russian Federation after occupation of Crimea. If the previous time landing and unmanned boats were spotted there, now the activity of a Portuguese Tekeva reconnaissance UAV, which is in service with the armed forces of Ukraine, was recorded there. It is this military hyperactivity that attracts the attention of the Russian armed forces to the Odessa region, especially the locations involved in the transportation, storage, launch, repair, and production of UAVs and other weapons. Therefore, Odessa, Ovidiopol, Belgorod-Dnistrovsky, Vilkovo, Chabanka, Yuzhny, Chornomorsk, and other settlements often fall under Russian strikes. Russian Reporter media outlet says, for example, in Vilkovo, the storage and launch facilities for unmanned aircraft on the border with Romania were destroyed, and in Chabanka, the warehouse for spare parts and repair equipment demilitarized. There are many targets hit, but the question of the time interval between Russian intelligence reports and the strike is still pending, although the interval is gradually decreasing and it is more difficult for the enemy to take action. It should be noted that the enemy pays maximum attention to the development of unmanned marine systems. The United States and Great Britain provide it with information and technical assistance. Norway has recently joined them. Combat modules from Kongsberg Defense and Aerospace will be used on Ukrainian unmanned aircraft. In addition, the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine is the customer of the recently developed by the German company Flank Q Recon unmanned boat, which is inexpensive to manufacture and whose creation focused on reducing detection. As for the products of the Portuguese company Tekeva, which works in the field of IT, aerospace, defense and security technologies, these are very high-tech products. The company has subsidiaries in the US, UK, France and several other countries. It is the lead company in several European technology joint ventures. The Ukrainian Armed Forces are equipped with two types of UAVs. The Tekeva AR-3 is an autonomous small unmanned aerial system for medium-range maritime and land ISTAR missions. It can be launched from a catapult and landed using a parachute or net, or use the optional vertical takeoff and landing capability for additional flexibility and a reduced logistics footprint. In turn, the Tekeva AR-5 is an advanced tactical UAV with SATCOM support for medium and long-range maritime and land ISTAR missions. The consequences of the war with Ukraine will hit Russia itself hard. The main threat is not even defeat at the front, but what will happen after, when tens and hundreds of thousands of armed, injured and deceived thugs return home and begin to take revenge not on Putin, but on neighbors, passers-by, their families. Researcher Elvira Barry writes about this in an article for The Spectator. Not the best were sent to war. The main contingent were poor people from remote corners of the country with a criminal past, alcoholics with no prospects in life. And for many of them, the army became a chance to feel like people, strong, respected, needed. But the fairy tale will end at the moment of demobilization. They will return with PTSD, with unfulfilled promises, with pain and hatred. It is already known that more than 240 people in Russia were killed by those who received pardons for participating in the war. Rapists, murderers, repeat offenders. The Kremlin will let them into the cities and villages again, and again it will pretend that nothing is happening. Many have already returned to their old ways of life, leaving behind a trail of rape, arson and murder. In the 2.5 years since the war began, several hundred civilians have already fallen victim. At least 242 people have died. Another 227 have received life-threatening injuries. With the trickle becoming a torrent, few will be happy to see these people, who will most likely bring with them aggression, demands and problems. Russians already understand that the whole heroic image of a soldier on TV is a lie. In reality, these are the ones who will go and demand, threaten and kill, because no one wants to live on a regular salary after 300 to 400,000 in military payments, and the state will soon cancel these payments along with the attention to the heroes. Local authorities are already preparing utilization. Some will be sent back to the army, others will be settled far from the cities, given symbolic posts. But the power, resources and respect will remain with the bureaucrats. Soldiers, even crippled ones, are of no use to anyone. They will not be allowed into cafes, will not be accepted in society, and at best will be made heroes on a poster. Thousands of men accustomed to resolving conflicts with weapons will go home. Heavy drinkers, unemployed, without fear of the law. They will not forgive either society or the state for their new poverty, and the state will pretend that nothing happened. Those who return from the war, especially the maimed ones, will become a symbol of what the Kremlin fears most of all, a living reminder of failure, pain and price. They will be hidden, pushed out, silenced, but they will not want to remain silent. They have already learned to kill, and they have returned home. I suspect a similar fate awaits those who return from this war, especially badly disfigured. They are a living reminder of the catastrophic price Russia paid for Putin's imperial ambitions, a price the Kremlin desperately wants everyone to forget, at least until they are ready to start a new war. The author of the article writes,